Johnny Wrestling or Johnny Takeover, as my shirt says. And listen, I want you to listen. Like, we're involved right now. It's crazy. It's loud. It's hectic. We're in New York City. But I want you to listen to the No Holds Barred Network.
Enough is enough. They're always taking their sides, careless and nine, plus and minus their divide.
Hey guys, welcome back to the No Holds Barred Network with another episode of Under the Ropes. I'm your host, as always, the EVP of Giggles, the Heartbreak Chick, the Queen of the Indies, Tiffany, and I'm joined with the Law, Ray Ramundo, and our special guest, Mr. Darius Carter. How are you guys doing?
Wrestling's richest prize, the All-Father.
Mr. Darius, I'll do it properly. I'm so sorry about that. She has this. She keeps doing this. Okay. So again, for those, Tiff, you got to say it with certainty.
Oh, okay.
Again, I am the Law, Ray Ramundo, and we're joined by our lovely guest. He is Wrestling Rich's Prize. He is the All-Father, the Father of Change, Mr. Darius Carter. How are you doing, sir?
Always feeling well. Style and profiling. That was a fine introduction. Good job. I know you've been practicing in the mirror. I know you were doing it for hours upon end, eating breakfast as you did it, your Fruit Loops, all right, with the 2% milk. So congratulations. It's a pleasure to have me here, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I like it. I like it. All right.
See, even dressed up a little bit for you, Mr. Darius Carter. Wanted to look nice for you today.
All right. I'm glad. You're taking steps in the right direction. I'm glad I could be a positive influence on the world.
Perfect.
There we go.
I like it. Guys, if this is the first time that you're watching Under the Ropes, this is where I interview, and today, Ray joins me every once in a while for some of these interviews, but I interview wrestlers from the independent scene, referees, behind the scenes, promoters. So today, again, like we said, we got Mr. Darius Carter, and we're going to get up and close and personal. And you guys, if you have questions in the chat, please feel free to drop them. So Mr. Carter, are you ready for this interview?
Am I ready?
Yes.
I don't think that's the right question.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm not ready.
Hey, Tiff,
Yes.
we were supposed to have questions with us?
Oh, crap. All right.
Damn,
this episode is over.
I forgot the questions.
Sorry. All right. So let's get this ball rolling, okay? So how did you become a professional wrestler?
It was funny, actually, because I had friends that were wrestling, and I had first gotten into college in 2008. And I had some friends that I hung out with and met before that were all huge into wrestling. And, I had one of them who was John Harder, actually, who does he does his own podcast, and he did his own promotion. He ran his own show, which was Project Diverge, which was very different. But that's how we all started out. I was friends with him first, but, he introduced me into more of his friends who were deeper and deeper into wrestling. And, we'd always wrestle around or whatever. And it just one day, he just was like, "Hey, you want to come up to, you really want to be a wrestler?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "All right, come to the school with me." And then he picked me up a couple of days later, and we went to the school. This was BWO in Hasbrook Heights, Body Slam Wrestling Organization. Anyone who's wrestled like a decade or more is familiar with BWO. They're not around anymore. They're defunct now. But back then, it was funny because BWO actually had, if you've seen The Wrestler, which anybody who's a wrestling fan has.
Yes.
That first match that they show with Mickey Rourke being the Ram, and wrestling the guy with the mohawk, the spiked mohawk.
Yes.
That was in the first match. Yeah, that venue was actually BWO. They actually taped that at the BWO school. And if you pause it at a certain point, you'll see Richie Rotten, who was the head trainer there, putting the ring up, and take it. So it was really cool that they got, him and a few other people got their like few seconds on there. But that's like really the claim to fame for BWO was having that first scene in The Wrestler. And also so many wrestlers training there, like Steve Off was there, just all these guys that with Nunzio was a head trainer there. BWO, anyone again who's been wrestling that long knows about BWO. So
Perfect. Awesome.
That's interesting. Look at that.
Yeah.
Learning something every day. Here we go.
Yeah, it's history. There's a lot of history there. And Evan Myers was there, who's now Pro Wrestling Magic. Chris Callahan, who does behind the scenes. A lot of Pro Wrestling Magic, a lot of the people that were running Pro Wrestling Magic were actually BWO originals. So it's like, it's cool. That's why Richie is there. And it's a throwback. And it's just funny to see them now, 12 years later, 11 years later. And you're like, oh, you go from not seeing them as much to now every other month. And it's like, it's just old feelings, just feeling like young Carter again, young Darius Carter, learning the ropes and, still practicing drop downs and just leapfrogs. That school was such a great school, man. It's sad. They were in Hasbrook Heights in New Jersey, and it's a shame. They lost. Something happened with the building, and that's a shame because I'd go there. I'd drive to Lodi, to Garfield, to wherever. That area, that Passaic area, which makes sense. But I would do that, man. BWO is different, but it's they come and they go, and you find new places, you find new homes, which is the best part of wrestling. It's always a continual growth. But that's how I started. It wasn't really any like crazy wild stories. Some of these people are like, oh, I got, I was a kid and I got dropped off at someone's doorstep in a basket, and they took me underground and raised me with the wolves for 7 years. And then in my 8th year, I got in the ring. And some people have these like crazy stories. I've been wrestling since I was 13, and it's like, okay, like everyone wants to say that they've been doing that. But, no, that's just how it came up for me. It just was like, you want to be a wrestler, and I was like, yeah. And I always did. I just, you didn't know what the opportunity was going to be, and you're going to school, you're doing this. I'm going into college, and I started training in November. I got into college in September of 2018, and then 2 months later, I started training for wrestling.
Oh wow!
So I was juggling college and getting my business degree and a master's, while also being a professional wrestler. Which, a lot of people didn't understand. I didn't say that to a lot of people. I'm very private, I guess. I mean, I'm extroverted, but introverted with my information. So I'm just always I'm just going about my business. I don't, sit here and show everything off, show this and that. I have very nice things and a beautiful, beautiful life, but I don't, I'm not going to sit here and throw it in everyone's face and down everyone's throat. I'd rather make you think, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I know what I have, and if you look at me, you'll know what I have, and I don't need to parade it around. I think, you know what I mean? My confidence speaks for itself, but I got to live, I've lived a great life, and I worked for that. I worked very, very hard, Every time you see me at a wrestling show, I've been working. I came from work. I came from the office. I'm never just kind of sitting at home and waiting for my next match. I'm always doing something in between. It's usually working. I'm usually in the office or doing marketing analytics. So I'm always in a movement, you know what I mean? So every time you've seen me, every single time you have seen me in the flesh, in life, I was coming from work. I was coming from the office. I was coming from somewhere. And I did that going through college and everything. I'm going to classes, and then I'm going training. Get out of my my mathematics class or my history class or my psychology or whatever it was. And all right, meet me at this place. We go, and then I'm back. And it's like, then I'm doing homework. It's like, it was a fun life, though. The hustle was great. It made me who I am. I think I'm, very well disciplined, and I think that helped me, always having something to do, never being fully reliant on anything,
Right. That's great. Wow.
That's good. That's a good motivation for those
Yeah.
out there. Like, again, if you really want it, it's there for you to take.
Absolutely.
Yeah, people have to understand there's so many different ways in how you get there. And I think a lot of people are saying this and saying that on Twitter, and it's like, or Insta or any social media platform, and people are trying to motivate in their own way. And I think people just worry about yourself and do what you can do, because the way that I succeed in my life is not the same as the way you do. I would love to be able to go to the gym every single day and every single night. And that's not the main way to succeed. But what I'm saying is everyone's going, some people are doing that. They have 24 hours in a day or 12 hours in a day to do that type of thing. Other people are still working in this economy, such as myself. I'm still working. I never lost my job. So I'm still, and I had to go to the office earlier this morning. So I'm still having to work, and it's not easier either way. It's not easier for me because I'm working. It's still tough. It's still difficult in its own way. Everything's changing. Stock market's changing, but marketing, everything's changing. People are getting afraid with their money and trying to pull their money out, and they don't even know how to pull it out. And everyone's screaming for help. Everyone's head's on fire. So I have to deal with that, and I'm still make sure I'm home to do my tape study, to do my tape review, to do my home workouts, whatever I could do. Adjusted my diet or keep continuing to adjust it. I was in the best shape of my career before this all happened. So you just have to maintain it now. But I was in the best shape of my career because I was wrestling more, because I was able to fit in, the time, because I had a routine, I had a schedule. I was able to fit in the gym time.
Right.
And now that's not an option at all. And it's just different because when you go to a gym, you have a bit of more of a routine.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's different when it's different when you already have a system in place and you have to readjust. And that's what everyone's just going through now. It's just, how did life change now that you don't have these options? You don't have that same thing. So.
Right. Absolutely.
Go
ahead, Ray.
So now.
Yep.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So now,
go, Mr. Carter. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say now it makes you want to get a gym in your home now.
Yeah.
Thank God for apps, right?
You never know.
Yeah.
Well, here we go. Let's keep it going with the next question. Mr. Carter, you've been a part of the Carter Group, the Hostile Collective, the Crusade for Change. You've been a part of many teams/factions. Would you say you prefer that or being a lone wolf?
Now, let's rewind a few seconds, because I wasn't just a part of those groups. I'm a leader, the leader of all of those groups. And I think that that's important for people to note, because that demonstrates character right there. That shows people who I am already. I've led stables across the area, across the states, the country, whatever you want to call it. The Crusade for Change, we really got the farthest in terms of distance. We're getting down in Massachusetts and covering a lot of the East Coast at the time, the Northeast Coast, and getting to branch out. So that was really great with TJ Marconi and Gangone and the Minutemen, all people who I love dearly, and people that, came into the Crusade. It started with me getting frustrated after a match with Johnny Miyagi back in 2013 after destroying the guy. And then I just talked into the camera and just cut my own little promo. It was like Crusade for Change. And the next thing you know, it was like, all right, I got to take this thing and run it. So I need to get some stable mates. The first person I went to was TJ Marconi, my, best friend of mine, a brother of mine in and out of the ring. We would brainstorm and did all this other things. And once I brought TJ on, then we brought, then Gangone came part of the picture. Because we saw, the talent. We wrestled him. It's funny. We wrestled him at Warriors of Wrestling at a studio taping. It was myself and TJ, the Crusade, against him and Mark Quinn, who are of the Private Party. So, so they were teaming together. It was one night only. So we did a tag match, which was, just tremendous. And, Mark Quinn was kind of doing his own thing, but we saw Gangone. And I thought about that. I was like, all right, he watches. You could tell he watches a lot of the wrestling I watch. We could tell we just synced up in the ring, and I was like, I always kept that in my mind. And sometimes your enemy can become your friend. So Talked with Gangone. Next thing you know, he was in the Crusade, and then we were like, all right. I was like, I need a tag team because, Gangone and TJ are two singles guys that I brought along with me. I need a tag team. So then we got the Minutemen, and the Minutemen were, we're in the pink and black, and they were eccentric, they were outlandish, and they were fun, and they had some great high impact stereo moves, but they just needed that next thing. And the Crusade was that. Next thing you know, they were in clown masks, and the Crusade and mask as well. And they blended it so well. This dark circus persona with the Crusade. Everyone got to be themselves with the Crusade amplifying it. And that's what made it so beautiful. We weren't just wearing a mask and just coming out to the same theme music and just like we're the Crusade. It was all of us were different in our own way, and we came together to create really what I think was the best package in wrestling at that time. And we did get far. I think we did get a little cut short. It's not dead. I think it's just the business just was against us in a way. I think that there were people that were against us because they wanted to be in our position. They wanted to be in, they wish they had that idea. Like they were like, man, you know what I mean? And because it wasn't them, it frustrated a lot of people. We got a lot of political resistance. And then it's hard, and this is politics. It's tough. And as we were getting bigger, we were wrestling bigger and bigger names and people who've been all around the world. And it just all weighed in, and the politics weighed in. And then, it just unfortunately, just kind of got left aside. It didn't even finish. So it's really unfinished. And I never leave anything unfinished. So I wouldn't ever say the Crusade is over. We're just kind of dwelling in the shadows. But the Carter group as well, I created a Capital Wrestling just to be different because, Capital Wrestling, there's so many championships there and so many people, so many ideas. The office is so involved in Capital Wrestling. They're on screen, like anything you'd ever believe. So you got Harry Turjanian, who's the owner. He's on screen all the time. He's managing someone. You have Meadowland Monsters manager is there all the time. Zach Amico, there you go. Zach Amico, who's, office, and then he's there. So there's a lot going on. And I was like, the championship picture was with Homicide. And I've actually never received the title match at Capital Wrestling. I want to make that clear, which is insane given the level of matches that I've had. I mean, my first match was with Gangone. We had that match at Capital Wrestling at the 1-year anniversary show. And that was, that was probably the best match we've had, and we still haven't been able to go all the way in with each other. It's just whatever. We haven't even reached the pinnacle of what we can do. But that was probably the best match that we've had, and I ended his undefeated streak. He was unbeaten for a year, so the leader comes in and beats him. So it was cool, and I'll always love Gango. Love him. We can always wrestle. We can be allies. We can be enemies, and that's the cool thing with the Crusade. I can do that with them, but we can still know that we're on the same side, for the most part, depending on which promotion we're at. But like TJ, we can go out there and have a match and I'll be completely vicious with him. I'm not going to change who I am for him. But then outside of the ring, we're still the Crusade. We're still brothers. But inside the ring, there's no rules, and he knows that. I got to do what I have to do. Win's a win. Family should know that best.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Carter group I really created just because I wanted to stand out. I wanted to be something different, and I felt like I wasn't getting those title opportunities. Mm-hmm. There was just always someone in front of me. It's like, oh, here comes Homicide. Well, of course, Homicide's going to get a title match. Right. Homicide.
Yeah.
Like, what am I going to? What am I supposed to do? Oh, here comes Colby Carino because he's on Evolve. So I'm like, all right, great. So the title every month, the title picture was just changing. And Ken Dixon was there, then he wasn't. Matt McIntosh was there, then he wasn't. And I don't like to be in fluctuation. I like to stand my ground. So I was like, let me do my own thing. I created the Carter Group. And now I have Ron Starr with the Righteous Right Hand. I have O'Shea Edwards, who just joined, who's making his own waves. So I was able to grab him at the right time. I had an announcer with Candice Cordelia. She was there. So I had a lot of things going on with the Crusade. With the Carter Group, and we're going to see how that materializes once this all ends, because Capital Wrestling is kind of rebooting itself now. Right. And And then also the Hostile Collective, which I've been a part of for years. Originally, I actually wasn't the leader. I got brought in with Abdul Nasir. Was there at the Hostile Collective. He's always been there. He's like the stalwart of the Hostile Collective. He's always there. Former 2-time world champion, his respect. Neff was there at the time because originally it was the Syndicate, and then that became the Hostile Collective. They've been running, Warriors of Wrestling has been running for 13 years.
Yeah.
You have to think, they run 13 years and running a show every single month for 13 years. Not like, one show every 5 months or one show every 4 months. Oh, it's our 2-year anniversary. Yeah, well, you run 5 shows, so what are you talking about? but Warriors of Wrestling, for 13 years, have run every single month, which is a huge testament. And they draw every time. And they're in Staten Island. So they're in a place that's not as competitive. Their fans are loyal. They know the storylines. They know who's champion, who's not. They pay attention to that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to call that my home because it's monthly. It's local. And again, those fans are paying attention. They know what happened 2 months ago. They don't have a short-term memory loss. They're not like, I don't know what happened last week, or I don't know what happened 3 months ago. They know the stories just about to the T for the most part, which is always a great feeling. So I know that they know when I go out there, they know what's going on. So yeah, I came into that with John Cannon, Preacher John Cannon. He eventually left, gave me the torch to be the leader, and I've been the leader since. I've won the No Limits Championship twice, champion for 366 days. So for 1 year, 1 day, I was No Limits champion. That was like a multi-man title. A lot of people, they'll be like, 5-way matches, 6-way matches. I kind of brought it back to the basics. I made it a classic championship again. I made sure that there were one-on-one matches. I made sure that people were earning their shot as opposed to me defending it in a scramble every month for the enjoyment of the fans and for a cheap booking. Let me get 6'5" people to wrestle Darius Carter. That's not how I work. Quality control. Yeah. I'm not going to, wrestle 5 people and this guy's going to dive on you and then another guy's going to dive on you. I'm risking injury. I'm risking time of my career in these multi-man matches. Guys I've never wrestled before, they can no. I want to jump off the top and do a 450 and all 4 or 5 of you catch me. I don't know about all that. Yeah. I was the ring. I was able to bring that title back. Won the Warriors of Wrestling World Heavyweight Championship back in August 23rd against Sonny Kiss. And that Sonny Kiss now in AEW. That was Sonny Kiss's last match at Warriors of Wrestling. So I sent Sonny Kiss packing. I literally handed Sonny Kiss to TNT, basically. And then I wrestled, I defended the title against Killer Cross the next month in September, and who's now also in the WWE.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I just put up a thing where I pretty much shattered his arm, broke his arm. He even commented on it with his available left arm. So I'm sure it took him a while to take that. You know what I mean? He's an intellectual guy, but I don't know how his penmanship is. So he might have had Scarlett do that for him. But got that out there. And then I defended the title against Chris Dickinson in September, October. That was October, yep, because it was the month after. So that was a great one too. And that was in Dickinson's hometown in Staten Island. And he was apparently hadn't wrestled there before. Oh, wow. He's traveled the world. He's traveled all over, but he hadn't wrestled in Staten Island. So he came to Warriors just to get beat by Darius Carter. It was a tremendous feeling. I gave him a send home package. I think his mother was in attendance, so she got to watch her son lose. To the best thing going today. So to Mother Dickinson, hello. Sit in front row, wink, wink. She did try to. I do believe she tried to reach over and touch me at one point, and tried to reach out and touch me, and I could not allow that to happen. I could not allow enemy filth on my fine attire, so I did not let that happen. But yeah, great match with Dickinson, great run. So those are the 3 groups, Crusade for Change, Carter Group, and the Hostile Collective, still alive and kicking,
It's great. It's great.
Oh, there you go. So So you would say you prefer that. You prefer being the leader instead of just running solo.
Okay, yeah, to answer right, because the original question was, do I prefer being a There we go. Right there, you go. I'm the best. Best of all time. Uh, yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you want to have a stable if you could?
Yeah.
That's kind of a self-answering question. I feel it. I think a lot of people may say, "Oh, I want to be on my own." It's like you want to be on your own because you don't have anybody.
Oh.
That's what you're used to. And listen, I've been on my own for much of my life. I can clearly handle being alone. That's not an issue. BCW, I'm the world champion, 528 days. There's no crusade there. There's no hostile collective there. There's no Carter group there. I did that on my own. So if you really watch what I'm doing, which, I'm proving that across multiple promotions, that I can lead a stable and I can do it on my own. You know what I mean? I've been world champion with a group. I've been world champion without it. I've been world champion in the United Kingdom where I went by myself. So, to be the LDN world heavyweight champion, defending that all across the United Kingdom and Wales, all across, across that area. So what are we talking about? I've established that. I've built a resume for myself. And I'm very, very proud of that. 15 different championship reigns in my career, 13 different titles. The BCW World Heavyweight Champion. Okay.
Look how nice.
All right. So let's be honest. I did this for myself, and people may not want to give me the credit, or people may want to say this or that, but I did this. I made sure that I built something for myself, and that's what this is all about. Is by the end of all this, will they remember you? That's your question.
Yeah.
By the end of your career, by the time you hang up your boots for the final time, will these people know your legacy? Will they know your name? If you say Darius Carter, will I be able to get someone in a group of people to respond, or everyone in a group of people to respond and say, "Oh, I remember him," and say your comment, whatever it is, but you remember.
Yeah.
That's what this is all about. So yeah, I mean, I'm fine either way, solo or with a group. You know what I mean? As long as I have a championship, that's all that matters.
Perfect.
There you go.
I like it. Okay, so to the people that don't know you, what kind of style of wrestling best suits you?
I'm a traditional. I'm a fundamentalist, really. So, big on the British style of wrestling, Greco-Roman, catch as catch can, technical. I love to grab a hold. I love to grab a body part and to just. There's just so many ways you can twist, turn, and manipulate the body. I look at it like a human game of chess. I see the human anatomy, and I'm like, all right, well, the weakest points of your body are your ankles, your wrists, your fingers, your ears, your nose, and your eyes. So I've been able to develop like a lock-on target in my own head. You know what I mean? It's like I know exactly where to go at what times. When you're picking me up, your feet are there, so I can attack your feet. You're picking me up, you're using your fingers. I can maybe peel a finger. So offensively, defensively, I'm always thinking. My mind is always working, but you can't tell, and that's what makes me so dangerous. I don't look like I'm thinking in there. Like I don't look like I'm looking for the next move. You're just like wrestling a computer. It's like wrestling a master adept computer. That's what this is. That's what I've always envisioned. I looked at that. Those are like a final boss of a video game. It's like, oh man, like you get frustrated. You're gonna slam your controller. You're gonna want to storm out of the room. You're gonna want to throw a shoe at your TV. You break your own TV screen. Now you're mad. You can only blame yourself. But mommy, the video game boss was so hard. That's yeah, it was hard. You should have known what you were getting into. It is a $59.99 video game. You don't know what the boss looks like. But yeah, I've always prided myself on that. I love final boss wrestlers. Guys like JBL, Ric Flair, the greatest of all time. Just guys that felt like The Undertaker. Guys that just feel like, and if you get to them, and beating them is the pinnacle. Being that person is the pinnacle. It's so tough. And I've always wanted to be like that, and that's what I look to, and that's what I emulate, and I'm across so many different walks of life. So that's very, very important to me to do that. My style is really paying homage to that. My style is it's rough and tough. I mean, it's refined. It's there's style. I dissect with style, and I hit hard. A lot of people cry. A lot of wrestlers cry. You know, I'm not out. We're not out there to hurt you or kill you, but you gotta feel it. This is wrestling. If I hit you with the European uppercut, there's gonna be meat. I'm not gonna slap my leg and tell you to throw your head back. I'm gonna uppercut you, just as I expect you to return it to me. I mean, this is the business of physicality. That's what people care about. The moves and stuff are all secondary. And yeah, moves look cool, and there are those fans that love the sizzle before the steak. But at the end of the day, steak is delicious. And if you give them a nice, meaty attack, I've never seen a fan turn away from something like that and say, oh, that's not interesting. You know what I mean? And that's what I think I'm trying to bring wrestling back to. I've tried to reintroduce that to wrestling. A lot of people have taken suit. A lot of people that were in better positions than me in the business were able to take some of my ideas and emulate them. So congratulations to you. But it is what it is. I mean, I want to do things the right way. I don't want to use my money to get me ahead in wrestling. I want my ability to get me there. And it is getting me there. It's going to get me there. And that's why I do the style that I do. It's just very in your face, very technical, very intellectual. If you make a mistake, I'm all on it. If you go into the top rope, I really hope that you don't just go to the top rope without an idea. Don't just go to the top rope if you don't see me in pain. Like if you think, oh, look, I'm going to climb up and do this top rope twisting cross body and land on his neck. Like I'm going to grab you before you can even take flight. Now you're vulnerable. I like my opponent to put themselves in vulnerable situations. That's why I like to wrestle the high flyers, because they like to get their stuff in. And I'm the type of guy that I've studied your stuff. I knew you were going to do it before you did it. I knew you were going to do a springboard. What do you do when you springboard to the top rope and I'm right underneath? I'm right here. Your foot is right here. All I got to do is slap it away, and you're going to crouch yourself on the rope. That's frustrating. That frustrates a lot of people.
Right.
I'm a very frustrating wrestler because you can't just manipulate me. You can't just play the hits. You can't just do your favorite moves and get your paycheck and go home. You're not just going to collect your envelope and go. That's not how I work. We're going to get in there. I'm going to be something different than you've ever faced. I'm going to be better, and that's going to frustrate you to say that because you don't want to say that about me, but I am going to bring the best out of you, and I expect that in turn. Every time I step in that ring, I don't want my time wasted. I have no time to waste, so let's go at this all the way, and that's why I like the technical style. Greco-Roman, lockup, collar and elbow. What can you do? Can you go? Grab an ankle, grab a wrist, grab the neck, cravat, arm twist, European arm drag. What are we talking here?
No, I like it. I like it.
Okay, let's keep it going here. Let's not waste his time, like you said. Let's keep it going with.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit of your evolution from the debonair millionaire to now the All Father.
I love it. I love it. And it's funny because I just tweeted about Randy Orton going through that in his career where he evolved before our eyes. And I know that I didn't have that. I don't have that TV exposure, what have you. But if you've really looked at my career, I have evolved. I have changed into the person that I am. And I'm glad that you noticed that. I'm glad that was out there because I came in, with money. I was making money at a young age. You got to think I started training when I was in my 18th year, going into 19. So, I was doing well for myself by then. I started as soon as I could. I started young. My mother worked for a Fortune 500 company before she was 19. So, I wasn't born into a upper class, that type, but we were in a nice middle class, but we did well for ourselves, and my mom was always able to make something better. She would make a 5, a 7. She'd make a 7, a 9. You know what I mean? And that's what I learned young. I learned the value of $1. I learned the value of saving, and I learned the value of a lot of different things. And I was making a lot. I was doing really, really well for myself. Going into college, working, mind you, working, wrestling, and then going into college. So I was doing those things all at once, which was wild, but I loved it. I had my base of operations, and I would just go out from there, and I was just always out doing something, filling my day. But yeah, that's really how it all came about. I started off kind of like Young Money, just kind of like, I used to come out to like turn my swag on, like that type of thing. I was just like, hop about the bed. So, I mean, I was young, and I was wilding out. And I was, and I was, again, my money was saved. I was doing a good job that way, but I was partying, and I was, I was just the guy. I was wrestling in suits. You know what I mean? I'd wrestle in a linen suit, and people were like, "What?" And I did a Ted DiBiase seminar in a suit. Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man.
Yes.
They'll tell you about this. Ask Chris Dickinson. Ask Jaka, who was there, and TJ Barcody. This is real talk, man. This was FCW, not Florida Championship Wrestling. This was Fight. What was it? Fight the World. FCW was Freedom Championship Wrestling, and it was in Staten Island. And we're wrestling in the garage, and basically, and it had this upper deck. And then Ted DiBiase's there, and he's got a toothpick, and I think he got Subway at some point, and he's sitting out in the chair, watching us all wrestle. And I'm taking bumps, running drills in a suit. I'll never forget. Like, I was literally in a dress shirt, black pants, and some brown. Oh my God, brown gloss shoes. They looked so good. And I was sitting there bumping, taking hip tosses and everything in a suit because I didn't know he was coming. I didn't know he was going to be there. And I wrestled in a suit. And I don't know why I didn't take the shirt off. I just didn't. And I just was wrestling and bumping around. But yeah, that's kind of how I started. I was Young Money. I was arrogant, just throwing it around and just, man, not throwing it around because I wasn't coming out with money and throwing my money around. I'm not giving that to people, but I was just Young Money. It was just, that was my attitude. And then over the years, I matured into from a boy with money, a young boy with money, to a man of wealth. I invested my money. I put my money in the right places. I did different things for myself. And I always call myself the oldest young person in the world. I'm going to my 30. I'm in my 30th year, but I'm like I wrestle like I wrestle like I'm 40, but not in a bad way, but like in an old school way.
Yeah.
I'm just that's just what I did. I just set up a life for myself, and I just and then I got to, of course, do college, and college changed me for the best. Getting my degree and my business degree, and getting out, and then the world that opened me up to. And just all these things. So that all made me better. And I think that's why you see that evolution into wrestling's richest prize, into the All-Father. The All-Father meaning that I'm the father of the professional wrestling scene right now, in terms of I'm watching everything. I'm the see-all, I'm the be-all, I'm the end-all. People have gotten a lot of ideas from me. I've motivated a lot of people in a lot of different ways. Everything, and my whole thing is like, hey, look, I got a Midas touch mentality. Anything I touch, I'm turning into gold. And that's what you think when you think of an All-Father. You think of a holy, you think of a deity type personality. You think of somebody that just has everything covered. You think of somebody that almost can't be touched, and there's nobody or nothing like. And that's what I feel I am. I really think the All-Father, like, I really am different than anybody else on the scene. You can't just grab another black wrestler and say, oh, that's Darius Carter. You can't just grab another wrestler that has money and be like, oh, that's Darius Carter. Like, you can't grab another smart wrestler and say it's Darius Carter. Like, no one has the complete, full, distinct package the way that I put it together, and that's why I call myself the All-Father. And it took me time to get there. You can't just come in 2008 and call yourself the All-Father. You have to be seasoned. You have to be layered. You have to have depth, and that's what I created for myself to earn that name.
Very good. Wow. I love it. I love it. So again, as well, like you've mentioned a couple of the promotions that you worked for, but again, like we do have listeners that aren't familiar with you. Can you name some other promotions that you've worked for?
Yeah, so BCW, which is Bree Combination Wrestling, they're based out in Queens, but they've traveled around. You know, they've done Brooklyn as well. They did New Jersey. We debuted in New Jersey, which I was able to help broker as the champion. So that's what that's what being a champion means, by the way. You don't just hold a championship. You elevate the championship. You elevate the brand. You know, I'm going to keep it here as I talk about it. You elevate the brand, and you make more people realize what the promotion's about, where it is, where to find it. Their own YouTube channel, BCW. So I was able to do that. Warriors of Wrestling in Staten Island, you know, which is really I consider like another home because it's every month. They're running every single month. You know, I did PWT, which was really interesting. That was out in Maine. I went out there last year, and I would suggest people check out those promotions as well. I mean, there's so many places. Pro Wrestling Magic, with which we were going to be. So many shows got canceled, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
But Pro Wrestling Magic. Pro Wrestling Magic, there was a lot of good things going on there. I just competed in their Chad Adams Memorial Rumble. Entrant number 21, which was the same entrance as Edge in the men's Rumble and Kelly in the women's. So it was a pretty important number this year. So I got to do that. You know, Ace, American Championship Entertainment, which are actually, they're usually, they run like every few months. And you know, Dan Moff was calling that a home. Lance Anawai was the champion there. So there's a lot of things going on at Ace 2 that, you know, that's all, you know, it's almost sad to name it, just to think of all these places and everything that was going on and how it's all stopped.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sad.
It's hard. It's sad to think about, but there were so many promotions, and you could find them all on Pro PWT, by the way, being Pro Wrestling Takeover in Maine. You can find, if you go on my YouTube channel, not YouTube channel, if you go to my Instagram, my Twitter, my Facebook, all / Mr. Darius Carter, which I'm sure I'm going to repeat before we close this thing out.
Yes.
You know, you can, you know, you'll see all the promotions. I wrestled so many different places. It was great. I was really at the best of my days, my peak before this all went down, and I was only getting better. I had a UK tournament, UK tour that was planned that Brexit got in the way of, and then the COVID-19 just struck it all down. So I was going to be doing another UK tour, and I was going to be taking the BCW World Championship with me. So that was an unfortunate loss there, or delayment, whatever you want to call it, deferment, let's say. But there were so many places that I was going to get to be a part of, and places I was going to debut at, you know, that just all got cut down. We don't even want to talk about WrestleMania weeks. There was just a lot that was going to be, not that I was going to be overly involved in that smorgasbord of shows, but with the closet full of wrestlers that they were using. But, you know, I had a lot of things that were going on, but I think right now I'm trying to put out the best content I can, just trying to keep you interested enough. And that's why doing these things help. Having this championship helps. And just have as many open forums as I can be on, you know, to discuss it.
Absolutely.
Let's go.
There you go. Speaking of promotions you've worked for, you mentioned earlier LDN in the UK. Can you speak to us a little bit about how that was, how that process, that tour was, and how was it wrestling in front of a whole different fan base out there?
Oh yeah, the LDN was so much fun because we're talking. First off, the crowds were a little more old school. You know, there was the grandmother in the front row with the cane. I remember, and I had a little dispute with her. You know, And I told her, she kept putting the cane up, and I grabbed the end of the cane, and I said, if you want to walk again, I said, you're not going to poke this thing at me. You know what I'm saying? I said, you need this more than I do, so don't. But it was great. It was just so many different venues, the beautiful venues. I got to wrestle at Margate Theater, places where World of Sport would hold their events back in the 70s. To be a part of that history is tremendous. To be able to train under Johnny Kidd for a few days in World of Sport, a World of Sport legend. To meet Mal Sanders and Johnny Kincaid, who were former champions of their day in World of Sport. Just really, really humbling and awesome. And, I love doing that. I love to travel. So I love to be in the airplanes and getting to sit first class, do all these things. And, go to the UK, go out there for a week, 2 weeks, 10 days, 14 days, 21 days, come back home, have that momentum, try to use it the best you can for more bookings, and then just keep creating a cycle for yourself. LDN was tremendous. The currency exchange, everything, the experiences, the sites that I saw out there, the type of people that you meet out there. I'm very, very grateful for that. And then that's when I was looking to go back there before this all happened. So,
due time, hopefully.
Yeah, and I want to travel to more places. I want to go. I want to go to Canada. I want to go to Germany if I can. I do have that part of me as a wrestling purist that wants to travel the world, that wants to go as far as I can go before I get quote unquote picked up or anyone signs you. But at the end of the day, my goal is to wrestle around the world, no matter where it's with and who it's for. But I do have preferences, and we'll see what happens, man. I mean, again, Canada and the United Kingdom. I'm sorry, because I love the United Kingdom. I want to get to more of the United Kingdom.
Oh, wow.
If I was ever going to live outside of the United States, it would easily be the United Kingdom. But I just want to see more things, and eventually maybe a Japan stint. I mean, who knows? But my first right now is definitely getting to more of those mat-based purist areas like a Germany, like and even the excitement of a Canada. I think there's the scene up there is eclectic and different, and I think I would be a unique twist for them as well. So we'll see. You know what I mean? As well as getting more of the United States. I've been able to travel down south and wrestle for WrestleCade in 2018, which was tremendous. The biggest wrestling convention of the year, and defended the BCW title there against Azriel successfully. Went in and left as champion. Going to Florida during WrestleMania week a few years back, and wrestling for places like Punk Pro Wrestling, wrestling for Ignite Pro Wrestling. The owner, Kim, is a tremendous lady, so those opportunities were great. OCW, Orlando City Wrestling at the time, in a battle royal with all these people, and originally I got eliminated by Eric Cannon, so that was our only experience ever in life. But hello Eric Cannon, if you remember me or even are watching this or anything of that sort. But just different experiences, man, and that's what this is all about. And
that's great.
I love LDN. Great time. Great question.
Yeah, that's great answer for it. Actually, we have a fan tweet. We have the fan tweet, and then we have a question in the chat. Our boy Chris is in chat. He goes, "What's the one thing you can't travel without?"
My gear. What kind of question is that? That's the easiest question ever. What is it? I always, because if I traveled without my gear, I'm gonna wrestle in my suit, and these suits are too expensive these days. When I was younger, they were still good suits, but I made sure those could get a little tethered here and there, or you could wrestle around. I don't want to wrestle around in these suits. When Riley Shepard, when I had that face to face with Riley Shepard, and she attacked me like that, like a ravenous dog, like Otis the dog, unbelievable, like Cujo. She had said, like a Cujo in a gnome dress, in an elf dress, and with purple hair. But yeah, no, you can't travel without your gear. But I guess if we want to make it a little deeper, because that's the easiest. I guess that's too easy of an answer. What would I never travel without? And I could really be a smart aleck and say my wallet, but I would say you could just scan my wrist. My money is there. I have a barcode in my wrist. No. But what's one thing? Uh, I mean, there's so many answers to this. And I don't want to make it too easy. I'm trying to say something you wouldn't expect. A pair of scissors. Just in case you need to cut something, just in case, wrist tape or something like that. I don't know. I feel like whenever you're around, if you have a pair of scissors as a professional wrestler, everybody loves you and everyone knows who you are. You have scissors, man. So, if there's like a wrestling's traveler kit thing that you should always have, I guess it's a scissor because you never know when you may need one.
That's interesting.
You never know.
I like that.
I don't. Yeah.
So the fan tweets from Hank Flanagan. He said, "Want to make money? Team with me."
Of course he did. And I what's funny is, Hank says that to me, but I think Hank knows where the money is, which is why he's commenting to you to then comment it to me, because Hank Flanagan, I love the last name, Flanagan. Hank Flanagan. He's a good guy, man. Every time I see him, you get caught up. But Hank knows where the money is. Hank knows everyone wants to follow the Allfather, man. Don't try and stand beside me. Stand a little bit behind me. You'll be all right. Just don't try and get off my elbow grease, man. You know what I mean? But he definitely he's a good guy, man, and I like him. I like Hank. So Hank, you know where the money is, man. Just put up, and we can get to talking, man. Business is always available if you have some business to offer. All right.
There you go, Mr. Flanagan. Hope he's listening at the moment.
Oh, he's listening.
So, as we mentioned earlier, we mentioned the Crusade for Change. Could you explain the significance, though, of the mask that all of you deemed?
That's right. And I always had. It was cool because people would wear the mask, and you included.
Guilty. I know.
Yeah, guilty. And they would get the hand of God. Whenever I saw them with the mask, it's the hand of God. The deity's palm. Come out, I reach out and touch you. I'll let you know that the change is real, and people feel that when I touch that mask, and you can attest. It's just your chest puffs out a little bit, you get a little more oxygen in your lungs. That's what that's about. The mask was really about an idea, and I always loved V for Vendetta. I always loved that movie. I thought that movie was absolutely brilliant, beyond what people say. I think everyone will tell you, oh yeah, if they remember the movie, oh yeah, it was a great movie, but they don't really remember it. I mean, when he spoke, and every word he used in a sentence, every essential word he used in a sentence started with the letter V. Voracious, venacity, and just vitriolic, and all these things, and valor, and all these words that came with V. But I was just very interested in that, and I love the idea of it. But I knew when the Crusade came about that we needed something to keep us all linked together, because we were all different. Because it was TJ, Gangon, and the Minutemen. We needed something to synergize ourselves, and it was either going to be this giant this pose, or it was going to be through this object. And I like the object. So, again, myself and TJ Marconi, came to some brainstorming, and and then that's how it came about, the mask, just the V for Vendetta. And then it was just like, but you got to make it your own thing. And that's what the mask is about, an idea. The mask represents an idea of professional wrestling the way that it was and the way that it should be, wrestling the way that it can be, where we're doing it for the right reasons, where the people who are most talented truly get ahead, where the people that struggle get to reap the benefits of that. And it's relatable to people. A lot of people are like, I want to wear that mask. I want to feel that power, because the Crusade for Change, it was 5 of us, but to the outside name, or to someone who didn't really watch wrestling, you may not know who we were. And we were going up against guys like Tony Nese, NYWC, who were getting picked up, going to WWE. So it's the Crusade against 5 of other wrestlers that have traveled the world and you may be better familiar with. We wrestled Pazuzu, you know what I mean, with LAX now, or Ortiz and Santana, who are in AEW. We wrestled against them. We wrestled against Pinky Sanchez. We wrestled against the Hit Squad, Dan Moff, Steve Mack, and we wrestled against Team Tremendous, Dan Barry and Bill Carr. The Crusade had a tremendous run, and we were beating everybody. We beat everyone at Beyond for a year, for 12 months. And that was so inspiring to people because here are these guys with this mask, the static. I remember when we did the Beyond American Rana. This was back in 16 and 15 and 16. And, we interrupted Dan Barry. And I told the promoter, Drew Cordell, that I was going to do it. And Drew was like, I don't know if it's like he wanted, he was all about go ahead for it. But he was like, he didn't know if it was going to work because we had to adjust the lights at the right time. We had this little, this big TV. If you remember the FET Music Arena, there was a big TV that was there that we were able to use. And nobody had used it yet. No one at the venue, no one at Beyond used it. And I was asking the technicians, I was like seeing what was going on. And it turned out that we were able to use it. And I was like, oh, this is an opportunity. No one else has done it. So we had I had something filmed. We filmed a whole promo. We played that on the giant TV, turned the lights out, static and everything. When the lights came back on, we were standing, myself, TJ, Gangone, we were standing behind Dan Barry and the Minutemen, and we just laid waste to them, and it just got this tremendous reaction. And then since then, people were using the TV and stuff, but like the Crusade started so many things behind the scenes and on the forefront that we didn't get credit for, and because we weren't the popular option. You don't want to say the Crusade, you want to say that someone else did it, and it's like, that's not how it happened. We were just very groundbreaking, and I don't think Beyond was ready for it at the time. Now Beyond is doing all these things, which is tremendous. If the Crusade was around then, it would just be a whole other level. But again, there's just so much, there's politics behind it because you have so many names coming in, and there's so much pressure on Drew and to do certain things and seeing them out, which didn't unfortunately get to happen. But Drew's a tremendous guy, and I don't always say it to him, but I have no issue with him, and he's a good guy. It's just ideas were different. There were so many things in your head that you're being told, and we weren't going to fight against all that. It just we weren't in the right position to do that, despite our ring work showing otherwise, and despite our popularity showing otherwise. But the mask is an idea. You wear that mask, it's an idea. It's an idea for change. You want change in the business. We want things to be better. When I say change, I mean, I'm not just talking about WWE versus AEW. I'm talking about presenting a traditional product that's easy to follow, that fans can take. You can have your kids watch. You can have your grandparents watch. You can have your family watch at 8 p.m. with your kids to your left, the grandparents to the right. I mean, an all-inclusive experience. And wrestling used to be that. Wrestling was larger than life. And the Crusade was larger than life. And that's what I want the mask. That's what the mask has always represented to me. It's just, you'll stick to that idea no matter what. You'll die by that idea. You'll die with that mask on because you want wrestling to pro wrestling, the sport, to succeed. Not what we're being fed now, which is we're being told it's pro wrestling. Real people, real fans know what real pro wrestling is. And that's what the Crusade for Change stood for.
Love it. Love it. We have another fan tweet from our friend Benjamin Falvo. He said, from the time you started wrestling in New York City, New Jersey to now, what's the biggest change you've seen?
The biggest change I've seen, I guess you ask in what sense, because that's a pretty broad question. But I know Benny Fowles, which I just created in my head. I might not ever call him again, but I'm Darius Carter, so I can do whatever I want. What's the biggest change I've seen since I started? You know what? Internet popularity has really it's changed the way that wrestlers get booked. It's changed the way that wrestlers get exposure. I think back when I started, it was a lot more about resumes. It was a lot more about, I had to learn, I had to do those things, and I had to build resumes for myself and matches and photos, and every promotion that I wrestled for, I would always have to kind of jot it down so that I could put it on my resume. That's why I did it. I didn't do it to tout my own horn. I did it so that I could put it on my next resume and say, hey, look, I wrestled for all these places. Nowadays, it's like a resume doesn't really matter as much, it seems. It seems like nowadays it's about how many likes you get on Twitter, how many retweets you get. Instagram, I was hesitant to put up an Instagram just because, again, I live a pretty private life and I'm just moving all the time. I don't have time. I don't take the time to do that, but I guess that's what I needed to do and should have done. So I did. And now I have that, and I reached over 1,000 followers. So that was nice. And I've had it for like a year. So that's cool. If even that, but I think the biggest change I've seen is just how people get booked now. And I'm not saying that like back in the day, everyone got booked off of their merit entirely. But what I'm saying is it was a different process. You really had to earn your booking. And nowadays, I feel like a lot of people are given just booking opportunities just because they're friends with someone or just because they have a lot of followers on Twitter or they have the right friends on Twitter. And and then you see a lot of these different promotions running the same card or they're using the same people. And that's what I thought WrestleMania Week was. I thought WrestleMania Week was 80 shows with 40 different wrestlers. And it's insulting because it's being presented to you, the fans. It's insulting to the fans and it's insulting to the wrestlers. It's insulting to the fans because it makes you think that there's this huge rush hour, I gotta be there mentality. And trust me, I've been in that environment, both as a fan and as a wrestler, where you're at the bar or you're at a show and then you go to the next show, or here's a show at 4:00, and then I've been a fan too in that respect.
Right.
So I get it, but I've also been on the wrestler side where I went from show to show. I had to go to the show, and then I had to hop in an Uber because I was in Florida and didn't have a car, or I would take my rent-a-car. If I was with a group of people, some of them, the people who needed it the most, had the rent-a-car, and then I would Uber myself. And get compensated for it when I got back to the venue. So, all right, here's my match. Jump in, next one, in Florida, in a place you don't live. You know what I mean? So I understand that, and there's traffic everywhere. It's hard to get to places. So I get that, but to me, the grind is what I love. I love the old days of the territories, and I know that it can't be that way anymore, but you had to earn your stuff, man. You had to earn your bookings. You had to show up. And nowadays, it's just not the same, man. I see that. I see how these opportunities come up. Guys wrestle for a year, but because they are linked to a guy that was on TV or linked to a guy that's getting ahead, now you're the one that's on MLW or you're the one that's on AEW. And it's like, I feel like there's not less respect for the past. Actually, you know what? There is. There is less respect for the past. And I feel like it's all about, there's so much sizzle going on right now that people aren't taking a fork and knife and cutting into the steak. I think people are just trying to get the quickest sizzle they can now in 2020 for the most part. And you'll see a lot of promotions that are going to suffer because of this COVID-19. A lot of these promotions are going to suffer in a major way. They're either not going to come back or they will come back, but their return show is going to be all over the place. The return show, they're all going to try and grab the same names. They're all going to try and grab the same 40 wrestlers. And then it's like, well, of course fans are going to go because you're opening up the market again. But, like, I don't want to go to 4 shows and see the same 40 guys.
Right.
I don't, maybe the fans like that, but how many times, I remember when I went a couple years ago, Matt Riddle and Keith Lee wrestled each other like 4 times that week. And I was like, that's a tremendous match. But how many times can you watch that within 3 or 4 days? It's like, there's a bunch of other talent. Why don't you put someone with Matt Riddle one night and someone with Keith Lee one night, and then mix it up the next night, and then the 4th night, Matt Riddle and Keith Lee wrestle each other? You know? That's what I expect to happen. I know it's going to happen. I'm going to call it when it happens. I'm going to call it right out. A lot of these promotions are going to come back, and they're going to use the same guys, either because they're cheap or they don't cost any money. Like a lot of people that wrestle at and I'm not going to say it, but, but people are going to go out, just because, people are going to go out there and they're either going to get booked because they don't cost money, or you're going to book these big names to try and make your return show bigger than everyone else's. But I think a lot of people, when they come back, they're just going to want to see their guys again. Right. Those local promotions are going to flourish too. I think you can still, I think you want to see those homegrown talents, and that's the biggest battle, I guess, in summation, to answer that question. It's been a battle against homegrown talent versus Insta talent. And there's so much Insta talent on the scene right now, guys that have a shelf life of like 2 to 3 years because that's all they've been trained for. You know, I've been able to be around for 10 plus years because I've been able to change it up. My shelf life is extended, and I'm old school in that sense. A lot of these guys now, they go 2 to 3 years, and it's like they're not special anymore. You know, now you got to reinvent yourself, and it's like they're getting put in the spotlight too soon. You know, not saying you're not good, but just earn your craft so that by the time you do get to TV, we can launch the rocket to you instead of you're using TV to get yourself better, but you should have been better before you got on TV. That's what I think a lot of today is.
Wow. Making me think over here too.
That's a perfect answer.
Yeah,
I love that. That was just
absolutely.
Well,
It's
let's
real.
keep it going. Let's keep it going here. My next question has to be, if you could choose one person you've wrestled before, you could choose like in a heartbeat, they'll give you the match, wherever. Who would it be?
Mercedes Martinez.
Ooh.
Mercedes Martinez at BCW. Oh my goodness, that match we had. And this was a few years back. And this was before I was even champion. Mercedes was one of the best professional wrestlers, if not the best professional wrestler that I had gotten in the ring with. And we were feeling each other out. And it's amazing. And it's like, oh, you know, some of the best wrestlers are women, you know. And I've been on this advocacy train because a lot of women, I feel nowadays, are better at the storytelling element than a lot of the males, because a lot of the men are concerned with having great bodies or getting their moves over. And I feel like a lot of women just want to go out there and wrestle and just want to prove themselves. There are a lot of guys that want to do that too, but they're not getting the spotlight that they should be getting, and that's a whole other topic for another time. Guys like Cooley, you know, Buffy Ayo, and Sway Archer, and all those guys, you know, that are doing their thing. Even to like so many people I can name, but I think there's so much opportunity that's out there that we have to be given, and we won't know how good people are until they're given that spotlight. And that's what I wish was happening more. I wish more people, not even just myself, because I do get spotlight to a degree. I get more spotlight than a lot of people, so I shouldn't say it like that. But there is a lot more spotlight I could get too. So I'm not ungrateful of my position, but I'm also understanding of where I could be and should be based on my talent level. And I get people telling me all the time, you know, hey man, why aren't you this time, this and that? It's like, that's a compliment, but also a silly question, because how am I supposed to know why I'm not signed? Like, hello. But you know what I mean?
Show
But
your hunger though. Your hunger's still there.
Yeah.
You want it, like your accomplishment proof it. Like, you're showing that even though you've done all this, your hunger's still there to just keep demonstrating it.
yeah, and dude, the hunger is never ending, man. It's a never ending well of hunger. And if you ever run out of hunger, then that moment that you run out of hunger, you have to sit down and reevaluate.
Yeah.
And someone in the Crusade did that, Devin Blaze, and he's a brother to me. And he had to think about his career too, because it's frustrating. It's frustrating to be good and to not get through that glass ceiling because there are so many things in your way. It's not just talent, man. It's not just talent. And the talent isn't the main reason I'm not where I need to be, man. A lot of it is political frustrations, people not liking me because they think I'm a certain way. A lot of these people haven't met me. They don't know me. They haven't had a conversation like we're having now to make a proper judgment. But that's what people do, and it's easy in this business because guess what? That's one less person I have to worry about. These promoters promoters have all these people to look after, and I'm not discrediting promoters because they have a ton of a talent pool and a half to choose from. And when you X off a guy like me, it almost makes it easier for them because now they can look at the other 180 guys. And that's what's happening to me, I feel. I feel like I'm getting discounted before the door. I feel like I'm not even getting my chance to get a ticket to stand in line. The tickets are denied to me, you know? But there are a lot of places, to their credit, that picked me up and gave me a chance that it's opening my door. Places like Battle Club Pro have done so much for me. They put me in the ring with Pete Dunne. They put me in the ring with Jimmy Havoc. They put me in the ring with Darius Lockhart even. Darius versus Darius. So I've had those opportunities. They put me in there against LAX, against EC3, they put me in there against. So Battle Club Pro, I owe so much to. And they will get it back when I have the opportunity and the platform to give that back to them in this business. Again, Warriors of Wrestling, where I got to wrestle Jinder Mahal before he became WWE champion, Elijah Burke. I just wrestled and defeated Davey Boy Smith in February.
I was there.
Before a lot.
I was there.
Yeah,
I was there.
All right now. So you saw the truth.
I saw it.
All right. I went toe to toe with one of the best pure wrestlers in the world.
Yes.
And I won, and I more than just winning, I proved myself on a competitive level. You can't look at that match and say I was a step behind or anything. If anything, I was in control of that match, and that's against a guy that's traveled the world.
Yeah.
So that's a huge testament and a compliment, and I appreciate that. Just so many things going on, and having the Riley Shepard match in BCW against a woman. Like, my versatility is so different. I can wrestle anybody. I can wrestle male, female, non-binary, whatever you want to call it. A still life of apricots and pears. You can put me in the ring with them. Anybody. And that goes understated. There are a lot of guys that get booked and only could wrestle one type of guy. And you know who we're talking about. And some of them are some of your favorite wrestlers. But you can admit to yourself, okay, well, I only see him wrestling this type of guy. Or his best match is against this type of guy. I know he's a high flyer. I love him. He's a great person. But you know that wrestler is only going to be able to do one or two different types of matches. And that's what you expect out of him.
Right.
With Darius Carter, you can get anything. It's going to be rough and it's going to be technical because of me, but I can do a match against a high-flying guy and keep pace with him. I can do an agile-style match. I can do a mat-based match. I can do a brawler-style match. I can wrestle a giant. I can wrestle a midget. I can wrestle anybody out there. And that's what makes me different. You could put me there with Hornswoggle. You could put me out there with Crusher Legursky, Wrecking Ball Legursky. I could wrestle them both back-to-back and give you two very quality matches. And I think that's what people need to start thinking about now. More than the instant likes and stuff. Think about the guy that you can build your company off of. And that's what I feel I am, and I always represent that. And we'll see what people, we'll see how things look when everything comes back. We'll see how but I'm very interested, because the very easy thing to do is to just book the same 40 people. But I want to see the promotion that really is like, hey man, come prove yourself, invitational, and that's the place. All right, well, I'll get in my limo again. I'll get taken there. Let's go. I want to see the business hungry again. I feel like there's a lot of complacency in wrestling now. And I've been saying it for a long time. There was complacency well before anyone was saying it on TV, but now it's like a new complacency where it's like, well, I'm going to fit into this hole or fit into that hole, and that's good for me. And I'm just like, well, that's not what wrestling is, man. There's more to that. But that's me. That's how I feel. I want the whole thing. I want the whole kit and caboodle. I don't want to just be pigeonholed and get my money that way. I don't want to just be a multi-man match wrestler and, oh, sure, I get to WrestleMania week, but I'm known for being one of 5 guys. No, I want to build a story. I want to build a foundation, and I want you to remember me for that. I want you to be like, man, I remember that show. Darius Carter was champion for a year, and I really wanted this guy to win. He finally got stuck in the cage match. You know what I mean? I was waiting a year for him to be in that cage. I went to every show for 12 months to see him in that cage. That's the type of wrestling that I missed. I think nowadays you get the cage match in the second week or the third month. You get the cage match, and it's like, what happens? Where's the sizzle? The fans are the steak. The fans want the steak. They may not be able to express it to you that way, but that's what a fan wants, man. Make me hunger for it. Don't just give it to me. All right, I want to see Matt Riddle versus Keith Lee, but don't just make their first match an Iron Man match. Make them earn it, man. Oh, 15-minute time limit draw. Okay, now the next time, 30-minute time limit draw. The next time. I mean, that mentality is just gone from wrestling. People are afraid to do that because people are assuming that fans have short-term memory base. But it's like, you don't know those fans. You can't. I can't tell Ray. Ray, I can't tell you the type of fan you are. You may be a different type of fan.
He's a mark.
I can't say, oh, well, Ray's just only going to know the last 3 months. You could be studying the last year, the last 2 years. And it's our job as a professional wrestler to give you that.
Yeah.
We don't ask you for that. Why are we asking you? Wrestlers don't ask fans. We give it to you, and you like it.
Yeah.
And that's what that mentality is so. It's waning right now. The fans are looking to the wrestlers are looking to the fans for help, and the fans don't know how to say it because they're happy to be involved in the business, but they shouldn't be. The wrestler is the wrestler. The fan is the fan. Create that separation.
Thank you.
Let there be superstars again.
Thank you.
It's okay to be a superstar. I dream to be a superstar. Do you want to know what that means, a superstar? That means I'm getting paid. That means I'm traveling the world, wrestling everywhere I want to wrestle for the biggest promotions in the world. If you're a pro wrestler, why wouldn't you want that?
Right.
That's all I'm saying. That's
There
me.
you have it.
Love
There
it.
you have it.
Love it.
That was amazing. Tiff?
All
next
right.
up?
Yeah, we're cutting a little close for time. So we got I think 3 more questions. And then you know what? Because this interview is so good, we're going to have you come back on a second time. So, but I have to ask this question because I ask everybody this question. What's the craziest thing a fan's done to get your attention?
You know, the fans are so sycophantic, and when I say that sycophants, I mean they just really want to latch onto your certain fans, and the ones that will boo you. I'm talking about the ones that boo me and hate me, but then after the show they're like, "Mr. Carter, Mr. Carter, Mr. Carter." It's amazing. It was one show that it was raining out, and I had my umbrella with my suit jacket and my gear, and someone's walking it out with me. Someone's carrying my gear, and I have my portion of things, and I have the umbrella, and the same 3 fans that were heckling me, Carter sucks, all these things, DC sucks, and then they're the ones that are out there like, hey, can I get your autograph? Hey, can I get your autograph? So I took the guy's pen in the rain and I tossed it down the street, and I walked away. I didn't do anything. I was like, sure. I was like, oh, can he sign? I was like, yeah. Nodded my head. He gave me the pen. I didn't even take the booklet that he had. He had a notepad. I took the pen and tossed it in the other direction, looked him in the eyes, and walked away. And he was just looking like, oh, I can't believe it. It's like, yeah, that's what you get. He had no umbrella, he was just sitting in the rain. He was just this dumbfounded looking guy. And no hoodie or anything. Just like, oh, can I get in the rain? He's waiting for me to get my autograph after booing me. Booing me severely. I could just look to that part of the crowd and I was getting that boo.
That's my favorite story
yeah.
now. That tops the cake. That's my favorite story. Yeah, that tops the cake. That's my favorite story now.
Oh,
Go ahead, Ray.
If you're that kind of fan, please just stop.
Yeah, please.
Stop, man. Just stop. God.
Don't be that way.
Okay,
Go
so
ahead.
now, for my last question. We're down to 2, so my last question, very serious question, though. It's a very serious one. So, your thoughts, Mr. Carter, on being a custom in the 2K video game?
That, man, I feel like I should have a trophy. I feel like I should have an aggro crag from Legends of the Hidden Temple and Nickelodeon Guts and all that other stuff. I should have a telegram. Someone should actually be knocking my door shortly or ringing my doorbell with a singing telegram of my greatness for being in 2K. I'm glad, man, and like I said, I definitely want to check some of the matches out. Like I said, and this is to all people that are watching this or what have you. If you create me in a video game, send it my way, tag me in it, because I'm not one of those people that stays up late at night vanity searching myself all the time. Obviously I've done vanity searches. You have to, but I'm not one of those people that some people do it every day, every week, every month. I don't. I do it every couple months. Or I do it if something comes out particularly big, and my name's involved. But I'm not out there searching for like the guy with 2 followers to talk smack about me so that I can retweet you and sound big. I'm not out there for that. But I love to see myself in the video games. I've been created in Fire Pro Wrestling, which was tremendous. And someone showed me like my moveset, like the uppercut, European uppercut, and like standing enziguri. And I was like, oh, this person really put some thought, man. And it was cool. I like that. Butterfly suplex, like drop kick, some of my best sleeper hold. And I'm like spoiling my moves now. But you know what I mean? But it's cool to be created in a video game. I'll never, you can never get above that, man. If you're a wrestler and someone makes you in a video game and you're like, oh, it's like, come on, like, what's the whole point, Like, I want to see that. I want to see you make me in a game. I want to see an action figure that you've made in my image because you took the time. That means my impact on the business means something to you. So I love seeing it in the video games. I try to stop and watch them where I can, so I got to get around to watching yours. But I'm also, again, I watched it. I'm like, oh, did you do my moveset? Like, I can't expect everyone to know my moveset because my mind is just different. But I'm one of those people. It's cool, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud to have a legacy that people want to contribute to.
Perfect. I love it. Okay, so we're going to finish this off for one final question. Like I said, we're going to have you come back for a part 2 because there's a lot more questions that we would love to go through. So to all inspiring our amateur wrestlers out there, what's a piece of advice that you would like to give them?
All aspiring amateur wrestlers. And when you say amateur wrestlers, do you mean like my style of wrestling or do you mean like pro wrestling in general?
Just pro wrestling in general.
Pro wrestling in general. You got to have a thick skin and you have to be committed. You have to be committed not to just your character, but you have to be committed to yourself because there are a lot of people that are going to try and tell you who you are and what you're supposed to be. And I'm not doing a cliche speech. It's just real talk. I mean, that's what this business is you have promoters and wrestlers constantly trying to make something out of you that you either are or are not. A lot of people will look at me and they just decide what I am, and it's not true. A lot of it is not always true. There's some, they look at you in a suit and they look at you and come and dressed all the time, and some of them may look and say, all right, that man's successful. Other people are bitter about it. Other people are like, oh, who does this guy think he is? He thinks he's better than me. And unfortunately, a lot of the guys today are a little more upset and more bitter, but some of them are young too and just don't know better, so it's not their fault. It's just a whole lot. The scene is just different now, man, and it's just a lot more to look after because people are so different and they got brought in differently. They weren't brought in with the same code of ethics that I was or that a lot of people were 10 years ago. A lot of these people have been training for a year, wrestling for another year, so they have 2 years in the business, and some of them are on TV already, or they're in a good position. It's not to say they're not talented, but they have a good body, and they do the flips, or they fit their role. They say yes to enough promoters to be kind of marginalized, and I could not allow myself to be marginalized. That's the difference between me and other people. I'm going to fit. I'll happily be in any type of match you put me in, but I'm going to be Darius Carter in it. I'm going to be Darius Carter in a 5-way match. I'm not going to sit there and change my style to dives and flips and stuff because you put me in a 5-way match. No, I'm going to be the smart one. I'm going to be the one that's waiting his turn, that's biding his time, that pulls the ref out, that does things like that because I can, I'm always going to be different. So if I would had a piece of advice for someone coming into the business, like everyone idolizes somebody, but separate idolizing from replicating. Be your own person. Ric Flair, I idolize is the greatest professional wrestler of all time, in my opinion and factually. And I loved him and still do. And, as much as you want to emulate a guy, you have to make it your own. I'm my own version of a Ric Flair-esque type. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say I'm like him because I'm not trying to compare myself to that type of legacy. But what I'm saying is if you watch my style, you can tell who I watch. You can tell who I love. William Regal, I get that a lot. And I've been given the tremendous honored compliment of being called a William Regal of today, which is like a whole nother level. And I almost hope he doesn't even catch wind of this because I don't want to compare myself to him. But that's what people have been saying. And it's so tremendously awesome it's awe-inspiring. It's awesome in the sense of the word awe, awesome. And I'm just that means I'm doing the right thing. That means I'm on the right track. So yeah, if you're coming into the business, stay true to you. Have thick skin. Don't let people chew through you. And know what you want to do. If you don't know what you want to do, then someone's going to decide it for you.
Wow, that's great advice. Absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. Tell everybody where they can find you if they want to follow you.
Yep. So if you want to follow Wrestling's Richest Prize, Mr. Darius Carter, BCW World Heavyweight Champion of 528 days. BCW, you could send the next paycheck in the mail. All right, you know the address. Send a bird. Actually, send a carrier pigeon. I like it better that way. No personal interaction. All right, I don't want any contact. Send me a bird. Send me a COVID-19 negative test. A bird. All right, a cockatoo, a stork. Send a stork. And all right, send it to the Carter residency. And, but you can find me at I'm cracking myself up. Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook / Mr. Darius Carter. Same address. I'm the first. I'm the only. I had no issue getting any of those names. I love it. Again, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all / Mr. Darius Carter. And then you can also find my Facebook fan page, my official Facebook fan page, at / Wrestling's Richest Prize. That has some exclusive posts to it as well. I keep that page a little different than everything else. So make sure you check that out too.
Perfect. Thanks again so much for doing this podcast with us. And we will, like I said, we're going to do a part 2 because we got more questions. So,
this definitely needs to continue.
Yes, it needs to continue. We've been going for an hour and a half. So we're just, with all the more questions we got, we're going to bring you on again. Definitely part 2. So Ray, thank you so much again.
No, of course. I love coming on. Again, thank you, Mr. Carter, for entertaining us for the hour and a half that you did.
Yes, we love it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you both. I listen. An open forum means open ears and open open eyes. So I'm glad to be a part. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Ray and Tiff, I appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be at another show when all this clears up. So I definitely enjoy you. So, yeah, so hopefully we get back to normal soon because I miss wrestling so much. So I miss screaming.
Like nothing else in this world.
I miss screaming and taking video and turning my friends into GIFs. So that needs to happen again soon. I turned you into a GIF at Warrior Wrestling. It was pretty funny. I gotta post it again.
Yeah, I was in it.
I can definitely post it again.
You were there for Davey Boy.
Yes.
You were there for it.
I was.
So
I love it.
You were sitting in a place where you could see David's shoulders on the mat for 3,
Yes.
clearly.
Front row. I wouldn't have it any other way. Absolutely.
All right.
I wouldn't have it any way.
That's what I'm talking about.
I'm a true fan, man.
All
I'll
right.
be that mark.
Oh, suck it now. Hey.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Please subscribe to the No Holds Barred Network. Like, share, everything else. But we will be back soon. Thanks again. Thank you guys so much, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
There's something